Okay, we're going to just return from executive session. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We probably need to note that Mr. Davidson was excused from the business meeting. I need an approval for the board agenda, please.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Mr. Frazier?
Mr. Israel.
Yes.
Mrs. Matthews.
Here, yes.
Mr. Sprague. Here. Mrs. Baker.
Yes. Okay, next is the approval of board minutes. I need a motion for approval.
So moved.
Thank you. Mr. Sprague, second. Any discussion? Mr. Frazier?
Mr. Israel.
Yes.
Mrs. Matthews.
Yes.
Mr. Sprague.
Yes.
Mrs. Baker.
Yes. There's no one here for public participation. Mr. Holbrook?
Yes, President Baker. I'll keep my comments brief tonight. First, I want to congratulate the Hamilton High School football team on a tremendous season and the first playoff win in Hamilton High School history since they have merged into one high school. The coaching staff, the athletic administration, and the school administration did an outstanding job, and I want to publicly congratulate them on a season well done. We also have our marching band that are going to be competing in Indianapolis this week and this weekend, and so we wish them the best of luck. That's always a fun competition. They get to participate at Lucas Oil Stadium, which is where the Colts play, and it's just a great experience for kids. I do want to...
And Mike, and they got a superior rating at state
Yes.
This past weekend.
Yes, I
Just
do
want to
know
put
that.
that in.
And they got a superior rating at state. I do also want to just remind parents that the week of November 20th, we do not have school the entire week of Thanksgiving, starting on the 20th. So next week will be the last full week of school prior to the Thanksgiving break. So that is a 5-day break, and so we just want to make sure that that's on their calendars. And, we will be giving more updates at the December board meeting.
Okay, thank you. I think we need to circle back because I see somebody from the city here. Mr. Ryan, good to see you.
Too. Good to see everybody. Pastor Shack, congratulations, and looking forward to another 4 years working with you. So, also congratulations to Hamilton High football on a spectacular season. A lot to be proud of, and we're so proud of the coach and the boys. Really working hard and making the whole city proud. So. And the marching band, best of luck to them tonight in Indianapolis. So just real quick, Train Depot, if you obviously saw, we've had some city crews out there this week, getting some stuff cleaned up, getting some movement over there. The construction will be commencing here in the next few weeks. So by April, the new roof will be on, some windows will be fixed. The whole site will be looking ready to go for some additional developments, I hope, next year. New London Road in South Washington, we're going to be applying for a $3 million grant that's going to be placed in a roundabout on the intersection there. It's going to be a little big. Obviously, there's going to be some yards that are going to be affected, but the neighborhood is ready for a change. So, unfortunately, if we get the grant, we won't know that until next spring. But that construction won't be able to start until 2027. So in the meantime, we're going to be, we've got a couple options of how we're going to make some things just safer right now. So be ready for some changes here in the next couple weeks.
That's right at the top of the top of the hill, because I'm over in that.
Yeah, so South Washington, right, that intersection, there's going to be some changes.
Yeah.
They recommended 3 of them last night.
Okay.
I think what they're going to be going with is a right turn only out of South Washington and a right turn only out of Elmwood.
Okay.
But there's a couple little things we just want to talk about before we do that.
Yeah,
So,
I'm on that road a lot. It's,
Yeah, so we know we got a problem.
All for that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so HPD, we've got the traffic crash reports and stats, so we definitely have a problem, and we need to reduce what's going on over there. So other than that, the council approved last night a $60 million redevelopment off of Gun Eden behind Myers. This will be 272 new apartments. We are excited about that. Finally got a good, reputable developer in that site. I know this has been something ongoing for a long, long time in that part of town. So with that being said, because of the influx in traffic that's going to be going to the new apartments, we will be installing a new traffic signal at Washington Boulevard and Eden Park Drive. So hopefully that will reduce some issues that we're experiencing on Washington Boulevard. So with that being said, happy Thanksgiving to all of you. And
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
that's all I have.
Again, I just want to mention how much we appreciate our relationship with you.
Sure.
And
Thank
the
you.
council and the city. And so, yeah, happy Thanksgiving.
Great. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay, let's see, now we're gonna jump back down to, we need an approval. We have a TIF, actually, that we need to approve tonight. So,
I'll make the
Miss,
motion.
yeah. I need a second.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Just to clarify, this is actually the TIF and CRA for the development that Mr. Ryan was just speaking of.
Yes, thank you.
yes.
Mr. Isgro, yes, that is what that was for, so, I believe, Mr. Frazier?
Mrs. Matthews?
Yes.
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Isgro?
Yes.
Okay, next, we have the human resource agenda. I need a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Need a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Sprague. Any discussion? Mr. Frazier?
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Isgro?
Yes.
Mrs. Matthews?
Yes.
Okay, moving on down, we have the consent agenda. I need a motion to approve.
I'll
So
make the
moved.
motion.
Oh.
Thank you, Mr. Rosegro. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Matthews. Any discussion? Mr. Frazier?
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Isgro?
Yes.
Mrs. Matthews?
Yes.
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
Okay, we're up to the finance agenda, so Mr. Frazier?
Thank you, President Baker. We have a brief finance agenda other than the presentation of the five-year forecast. I have a few slides to go over. We'll then answer any questions you may have, and then we can continue on with the finance agenda. So, what is the five-year forecast? The five-year forecast is a document that is required to be board-approved and submitted to the state twice a year, once in November, and then we'll have an update in May. It is a snapshot financial analysis for the general fund with everything that we know about what's going on with school district finances at that particular moment. So it is a snapshot. Things change as we move through time. We're only talking about the general fund when we are going through the forecast. The school district has many, many funds. We've got debt service funds, we've got permanent improvement funds, we have food service, we've got principal funds, we've got state and federal grants. We're only concerned with the general fund when we're talking about the five-year forecast. And the general fund is our operating fund. That's where most of our folks get paid from. We pay for utilities out of there. We pay for bus fuel out of there. We pay for classroom supplies out of there. It is our main fund. It's our largest fund. Excuse me. And the forecast has 3 years of history, and it also has 5 years of projections. So the first year is this year, which is FY 2024. So what do we use the financial forecast for? There's 3 main reasons that we have the financial forecast. One is to engage the board and the community for long-term planning around financial issues with the district. It also allows me as the treasurer to sign what's called the 412 certificate. And basically that just means that we have the money available to meet our financial obligations. And that's something that I have to submit. And then really what we use it mostly for is a management tool. Upper management uses the forecast as a tool to determine the financial impact of potential decisions that we would put in front of you. So that's the main thing we use this for. As I said, there are some unknowns with the forecast. Every piece of information that we have, we bring to bear, but we don't know everything, especially when we're projecting out 5 years. So one of the unknowns we have is the state biennium budget. We operate on 2-year budgets from the governor's office. Right now, we're in the first year of the 24-25 budget. In the forecast, we will be operating under the 26-27 budget and the first year of the 28-29 budget. We don't know what's going to happen in the 26-27 budget or the 28-29 budget. We can make some fairly good guesses based on history from the legislature. But again, that is a large unknown. We don't know what's going to happen with our property tax reval. There are lots of things going on with that. We've got numbers from the county. We've got numbers from the state. They've finally settled on an increase for us, which would be about 33%. But again, there are legislative changes out there. So we don't know exactly what's going to happen. Again, we're going to make our best guess. We're going to go through those assumptions here in a little bit. And negotiated agreements. The forecast is a 5-year projection. All of our negotiated agreements expire within that time frame. So we don't know what's going to happen through negotiations here in the future. We do have several updates from May. The May forecast, we included a property valuation increase of 24%. We are now including a 33% update based on information that we've received from the county auditor. We've had a school funding formula update. We've actually had an increase in school funding. Basically what the state was doing in FY22, they were calculating how much money we get based on how much it costs to run the school. And what they were doing is they were giving us, or they were basing that calculation on what it cost in FY 2018. Well, we all know things cost a lot more now than they did in FY 2018. So that was part of the updates to the budget, was to take those FY 18 base cost inputs and update those to FY 22 numbers. So in turn, updating that calculation in the formula increased the amount of funding we get. And we also have a healthcare update from May. We've actually backed off of our healthcare expense a little bit in this November forecast. We do have a 6% increase on our PPO, but we have a modified PPO that we're seeing quite a few folks transfer to. It's open enrollment right now, and we're seeing that number increase. So that was only a 2% increase on the modified PPO. It's got no deductibles. It's got lower out-of-pocket max. Seems to be really attractive, and we're seeing folks kind of gravitate towards that. So that is a cost savings for the district as well, something that we didn't know in May. So like I said, there's a bunch of unknowns, but we have to make some assumptions in order to fulfill our requirement to fill out the forecast. So on the revenue side of the house, the property tax update. We're going to assume 33%. That's the latest information we have from the county auditor. Have no clue what's going to happen with proposed legislation, whether it's going to be done in time for tax bills. I kind of doubt it. So we're kind of leaving that piece out of our assumption mix. School funding, we are assuming that the state legislature is going to continue the funding formula, just based on the 24-25 budget. They've continued to update those base costs and continued the funding, so we would expect that to continue in future budgets. We're assuming an enrollment decline. Forever and a day, it was always Hamilton City School District, 10,000 student district. That's what you saw in the paper when they would report on us. Right now, we're getting funded on 8,375 students. And based on historical trends, that's probably going to continue. So much so that if you look at the last year, the forecast, FY28, we are assuming just a touch over 8,000 students, so 8,014. So it goes from FY24 of 8375 down to 8,014 based off of some historical analysis and trends.
Mr. Frazier, that
Yes.
we believe some of that is due to Ed Choice. Is that correct?
We can't tell for sure,
Right.
but that is entirely possible.
Okay.
Yeah. And then our other key assumption is around other income. You'll notice on the forecast this year, we've got a pretty strong spike in other income. There's two items that really make up the bulk of that, and that is interest income, which everybody knows interest rates are ridiculous right now, which is good for the school district. So that number is high, that we're bringing in interest on our investments. And we also have a couple rather large reimbursements coming to us in the form of Medicaid reimbursements. We've got almost $1 million check coming to us for Medicaid reimbursement in the next couple weeks. So we've included those numbers in the forecast. And then on the expense side of the house, we have, like I said, the negotiated agreements expire throughout the forecast. In there, we have them as they are currently defined. So as they sit now, we've extended them throughout FY28. COVID aid, we know that we're going to run out of COVID dollars in FY24. So at the end of this year, we're going to be pretty close to done with our ESSER money, our COVID pandemic relief funds. And we are assuming that the things that we are paying for now are going to fold back into the general fund. And then we talked about healthcare. We're assuming that we are backing off of our healthcare expense in future years from what we had in May, just due to recent claims history, as well as that modified PPO plan that's going to save the district money. So where does our money come from? We get 77% of our general fund dollars from the state. And that's why that enrollment piece is so very important to us, because we are funded on X amount of dollars per student. So the less students we have, the less state funding we get. Local taxes bring in about 18% for us. Now that's due to change because of the valuation increase that we are projecting. Matter of fact, next year, those numbers, instead of 1877, look more like 20% local taxes and 75% state funding. So the mix is kind of changing. And the more money we get from the local taxes, the state says, oh, you're a little bit richer now, so we're going to fund you less anyway. So as that mix changes, as our enrollment changes, those are kind of two really big pieces for us on the revenue side. And then we bring in about 5% on all other revenue. Again, those are mainly interest and Medicaid reimbursements. Where do we spend our money? Where does the money go? Education is a service industry. And just like all school districts, the bulk of our costs are employee salary and benefits. We spend 82% of our general fund dollars on salary and benefits for our employees. 14% is purchase service, and those are things like utilities, contracts for special education programs, internet access, phone access, those types of things. And then we spend about 4% on supplies. So this is just a graphical representation of the forecast. So we can see blue columns that represent total revenues, red columns that represent total expenditures, and then the green line that runs through the graph is the corresponding cash balance of our general fund through the forecast period. You can see in fiscal year 23, 24, and 25 as the blue columns outpace the red columns, meaning we are bringing in a surplus. So our cash balance is growing in that case. In FY 26, 27, and 28, we kind of see that flip a little bit, where our expenses are outpacing our revenues, and we call that a spending deficit. And the reason for that is twofold. It's those two items that I just mentioned. Our COVID dollars are running out, and we are folding those expenditures back into the general fund, which is it looks like a sharp hit in FY 25. The red lines, or the red bar, goes up quite a bit from where it was in 24. And then as well as enrollment decline. So as we have less students, we get less dollars from the state, which is our major revenue source. And you can just tell, looking at the blue lines, they look relatively flat, while the red bars are increasing. So our revenue due to enrollment is just not keeping pace with expenses in the years further out in the forecast.
Mr. Frazier?
Yes.
Salaries also play a factor as far as revenue.
Absolutely. I mean, salaries are our biggest expenditure. So, and like I said, we've got in the forecast the current negotiated agreements in there. Who knows what's going to happen when those agreements are expired and we have to negotiate again. So.
And I just want to be clear is that in many of those negotiated agreements, there's a cost of living increase that's already built in addition to raises that we do give,
Absolutely.
Staff.
Yeah, we get step increases as well as a negotiated increase. So there are, different steps throughout the years that equate to a little bit more than what the actual negotiated amount is.
And also, in the case of the decreasing student enrollment, that we have to adjust those staffing levels because we're decreasing the amount of kids that are coming in.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct, absolutely. But basically, that's what's going on in those years out there. It's a decrease in enrollment, which gives us less revenue, and expenditures coming back into the general fund from what we were using to pay COVID dollars with.
So that's what we're going to have to look at managing
Exactly.
moving forward.
Exactly. And that's what we'll use this forecast tool for. We'll come up with ideas to present to you and see how that impacts our forecast. So in summary, we've had quite a few changes since May. Not really as many changes as we had in a prior year, but we've got increasing property valuation that we have updated since May. We've got an increase to the Fair School funding formula that we've updated since May. And then we've also backed off on our benefit costs due to some healthcare changes. So those are really the major updates we've had since May. Again, there's a lot of things that we just don't know right now. We don't know what's going to happen with property tax legislation. We don't know what's going to happen with our negotiated agreements. We don't know what's going to happen with the biennium budgets in the Fair School funding formula, but we have to make those assumptions as best that we can. And we'll see what happens on our May update, May of 2024. I'm looking forward to that because, as we move through time, there's more information that we will know, and we'll be able to plug into the forecast and kind of see where that puts us in the future.
just a comment in working with the administrative team here, how much that we use this forecast to really strategically look down the road on what we need to do. And I have to compliment all of you that you have done a phenomenal job with dealing with some of these unknowns and as it changes and all that it's been, it's very much a working document for you all and us to really understand and stay fiscally responsible.
Absolutely. We use it all the time.
And I do want to comment is the fact that we have had a declining enrollment. We have not had a RIF. We have not had to lay off teachers. We've had to do some things that weren't great things with the movement of staff, but it was all in the spirit of making sure that we had individuals and quality individuals having jobs. And that's sometimes a difficult, needle to thread, but we've been able to do that thus far, and I think that we're going to be able to do that moving forward. We're already looking and planning on some of the enrollment trends and right-sizing the district based off those trends.
Thank you on that, Mr. Holbrook. I'm glad you clarified that because I could feel the comment that although Mag didn't mean it the way that it may have came out, but yes, that it'll be the won't be riffing positions and yes, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't, yeah. I hope nobody take.
All right, I was going to
Thank
comment
you.
on it. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Isco, for clarifying that. I'm just, my financial background
I
is
know,
telling me
yes.
as I look at,
Yes.
numbers but yes, we've been very focused
Yes.
on making sure that we don't have to take any drastic measures.
So that's my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any other questions that we have that we've not addressed, or we can proceed to the other couple items that I have on the financial agenda.
I think you pretty well explained it.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Okay, other items on the finance agenda. Obviously, we have the 5-year forecast to approve. We have one donation this meeting from Larry Wood to the Hamilton High School Hall of Fame for $100. And then we also have the normal treasurer reports for the month of October.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the financial
I'll
report.
make the motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Isco, Mrs. Matthews. Any further discussion?
Well, I just wanted to say, I saw you were off by $2 in like over, what, $300,000? No, it's more than that, so I hope you get it a little closer next time.
We're trying.
Okay, thank you. I saw you were off $2 and I thought, oh my gosh, that's horrible.
Okay, Mr. Frazier, we have a motion, a second, and no further discussion?
Mr. Isgro?
Yes.
Mrs. Matthews?
Yes.
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes. Okay, our next meeting is Tuesday, December 14th, beginning at 4 PM. I believe it is a executive and work and business. Okay, here at the board office. I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.